In the city of Syracuse, we have water mains that are 120 years old. The federal government and the state government stopped really effectively funding infrastructure a number of years ago, but it took a while for that to catch up, and now you're starting to see en masse these incredible breakdowns of infrastructure. Water mains, rail systems, roads, and bridges, and it's not going to stop until we decide as a people that we're going to have to invest in this.
Bristol's public transport service is just not fit for a modern city. It's not just an inconvenience. We have areas of the city that are physically locked out of the city centre's narrative and economic opportunity. That in turn feeds into social isolation, but it just compounds economic inequality and economic disadvantage.
Every time I had doors slammed in my face or people whisper to me, infrastructure isn't sexy, you can't put a ribbon on infrastructure. As a local government official, as a mayor, we just can't accept no for an answer. So I went back to my folks and said, look, we've got to figure out a different way to approach this.
Infrastructure projects are extraordinarily complex, and they last for decades. Their impacts go on for centuries. And so clearly the accountability for the governance of these projects needs to reflect that. It can't simply be a 1 year or a 2 year or a 5 year thing.
Seattle, like most cities, can't wait for the feds to turn up with infrastructure money. So we asked the voters to pass the largest transportation levy, infrastructure levy in our city's history. And they voted by 60% yes. And that's sidewalks, that's roads, that's bike lanes, that's basic repair and maintenance. And we had a big job convincing them that we could do this in such a way that they could measure the outcomes and that we would be data-driven in how we spent that money. I think our ability to show what we were going to purchase and to show timelines connected to those purchases and when those projects would happen helped significantly.
We use data to say, did it work? How did it measure? If it did, we continue to move on that way. And then using that as an argument to go to the state officials and federal officials and say, look, we're doing our part.
We are, as a region, developing a what we call a spatial plan, which looks at both housing and transport to make sure that the two develop in a logical way. So when we do housing developments, again, we're not putting people in places where they won't have the infrastructure that's needed to support life.
So we're being very intentional in integrating our planning so that as we plan density, we plan it where there is transit, and that's where we also target our affordable housing, particularly low-income housing because of the cost of transportation to any family. The amenities are, the parks are there, that they actually are walkable neighborhoods. That is going to be key to any growth.
Infrastructure is also an opportunity to introduce technology, different ways in which you can get a new thing to happen, a new way of delivering a service, a mobility, healthcare, education. And through that interaction of saying, what's the new technology I could bring? Should I be investing in more infrastructure?
We have come up with an algorithm that shows where our weakest water mains are and where they predict where they're going to break over the next 3 years and 5 years. We have deployed sensors into our water mains that send information back to us on a 24-hour basis, and within 3 inches can show us where our water mains are leaking water. So we started looking at that data and trying to figure out if, instead of going from a reactive model where we were always reacting to water main breaks, if we could use that data to go to a predictive model. Then you can start looking at how you are making repairs and saying, let's get to this one first.
Keeping up with the pace of that's the real challenge. But when done well, it creates tremendous economic opportunity and potential. City is life.